Good morning, everyone. My name is Patricia Roy-Trujillo, and I am from the Ojibwe and Meskwaki Nations, Cass Lake, Minnesota, and Tama, Iowa. I just recently graduated from the Institute of American Indian Arts with my BFA in Museum Studies after a 20-year career in the professional picture framing field and retail. So I did both sales, design, I did the ordering, I did the training. I trained our regional store managers for Aaron Brothers and Michael's stores in the Rocky Mountain region. When I came to IAIA, it was with the hopes of taking my skills and using them for our own cultural centers and museums. And during that time, I've realized that a lot of cultural centers, they have no money. It might be one or two people is the whole staff. And what they needed was real hands-on, basic framing techniques that they could do themselves, that they don't have to pay a custom framer to do. Because custom framing, the markup is about 3 to 4% over what their cost of materials are. But they're including the training and the labor in that cost. So today, what you have in front of you, I've given you packets with actual replication piece of artwork and mat board blanks or a mat board cut with the opening, acid-free foam core backing. Some of you have the acid-free foam core backing, some don't. I did that simply for the sake of fitting it into the frame because some of them are pretty thin because they're just 8x10 metal frames. I do have some wooden ones also, but they're a little bit heavier. I thought for this purpose, since you'll be taking it with you, it might be a little bit better and a little bit lighter for you. If you look at your packets, if you'll notice, you should have the acid-free foam core. I'm going to pass these around too. And it's kind of creamy color and it has a little bit of texture to it. That's how you can tell. And then the regular mat board, I'll pass these around, you'll see has a real smooth clay finish to it. And enclosed in your packet will also be, there's 3 different ways that I like to show and mount works on paper. And I use the T-hinge method, the mounting corners, or the mounting strips. These are your frame components that go into an actual framing package. You have your molding, your glazing, your acid-free mats, your hinges for your artwork, the art, the mount board backing, and dust cover. Now, the dust cover would usually just go on the wood frames, and that's to help keep insects out and also keep your package enclosed so that you get it slows down the particulates in the air, the pollution that gets into your package and degrades your work. When you measure for a mat opening, first you have to decide, do you want to show the whole piece with the edges? Because you might have some artwork that might have a deckled edge, or you might have a piece where you want to cover up a stain in the paper. So depending, you want to know exactly what you want to see in your mat opening. So you would measure that mat opening. So go ahead and take your pieces of artwork out. All right, take your tape measure, and if you want to leave a little bit of a white border around your artwork, I usually like to leave about 1/4 inch of white. So you'll measure your actual image, and then you add 1/2 inch, and then you write that down. You can write it on the back of your mat board here. Just write it on the back side. Yeah. So if your artwork, your image measures 5 across, you're going to add 1/2 inch for 1/4 inch white all the way around. So if your width is 5 for your image, you're going to add 1/2 inch for your opening size. From the edge of the image, yeah. All right. So do we have your opening? Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to subtract that opening from the frame size. Math, I know. Okay. Okay, you're going to subtract this opening size that you just measured from the frame size. And you can tell what the frame size is by taking your glass out. If it has glass in there, it'll give you the exact measurement of the frame. So if your frame doesn't tell you already what your frame size is, just take your glazing out and you'll be able to measure that, and that'll give you your frame size. Okay, so subtract the opening from the frame size. So what I like to do on a piece of paper is I work this out on a piece of paper and I sketch it so I know which direction I'm going. I always measure my width and then I measure my height. And I keep it in that order every time. Every time I work the formula, do the math, width first, height second. So you're going to write your 1 3/4 on the sides or whatever you got for your side measurement. And then your top and bottom measurement will be the same as well. Did you get it? Okay, all right, yeah. And then you're going to take your tape measure and mark it. All right, what's your tape measure? Okay. All right. So mark your measurement in that 1 3/4. Once you have your spots marked, your measurements in, use your straight edge and draw your square, your sides. You just connect the lines, draw your lines, so you're going to have your mat opening that you're going to be cutting once you have your measurements. This whole PowerPoint will be on the ATALM website. So you'll be able to use this formula. It gives you an example of what I told you. You have an 8x10 frame. You take your window, subtract your window from the frame, and then you divide the results by 2. And that'll be your sides and your top and bottom. Okay? Now the kind of mat cutters that we have here today are the kind that you push. They're just a portable tabletop model. They run around about $150 to $160. Very light. Some of them have the hinge top to them, but most of them you just kind of lift it up a little bit and slide your mat board underneath. So these are real affordable, and you can get them at Michael's, I believe, sells them. Hobby Lobby sells them sometimes, or pretty much any art supply store will have these tabletop mat cutters. So once you take your mat and you have your opening marked, let me show you. Mm-hmm. Once you have your opening marked, you slide it. Well, first of all, the slip sheet. This is called a slip sheet, and you always want to have one of these when you're going to be cutting, because what it does is it helps stabilize the mat board in there so it's not sliding out, because once you start putting pressure on there and pushing it, it's going to slide your mat board out if you don't hold it. So when I do my mat cutting, I always start with a fresh slip sheet. You'll notice if it gets cut multiple times, your blade is going to fall into those tracks and it's going to go off. Even though you're doing everything else right, it's going to bend your blade and it's going to jump into one of these previous tracks that you've cut. So always start with a fresh slip sheet and a fresh blade in your cutter. Now, if you buy these brand new, what I like about them is they come with a complete DVD inside. Watch the DVD, go through the manual, and practice. Cut a bunch of blanks and just start practicing, because you need to get a little bit more comfortable with cutting just regular mat board. Don't use the rag board yet. Just get the cheap, regular acid mat board just for practice. Because once you start cutting your rag boards, it gets very pricey if you make a mistake. And you don't want to do a rag mat more than once. You want to make sure that you have it right, you feel comfortable. And you know how much pressure that you need to put on that blade to sink it and to push. I like to tell my students that once you start cutting, you need to try and do it all in one motion. Because if you stop, it's going to show on the mat cut. It's going to show exactly where you stopped each time. So always try to, once you start cutting, just go for it. Don't stop until you get to the end. And don't rush. Whatever you do, don't rush, because that's when you make a mistake. That's when you'll cut yourself. That's when you'll go too far. Take your time, take it slow, and practice a lot. All right. All right, you're going to line up your mat. You've got your openings cut. Lift up. Lift your mat and slide it under there. And you're going to line it up right along, so you still see the pencil mark. You're going to line it up right underneath this silver bar. Like that. All right, yeah, right alongside. You want to see the whole pencil line. You don't want to cover it up, because that's going to change your width. All right? Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Okay, slide it. This just kind of lifts up like this. See?
Okay.
Slide it
And
under
then
there.
you slide it under, just right up to the line.
You want to see the whole line.
Okay.
Might want to change this around so you guys, because you guys really need to be on this side. Let's see. Yeah. So you're going to be standing over here so you can cut like this.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah. Go ahead and do it right in the middle, because that's where it's got the most flexibility, this bar.
Okay.
All right.
So this is just a protective thing?
Well,
should
it
be butted up to
keeps
the-
your mat board from sliding out. Yeah, yeah, it's
like
good to
that?
keep it butted up.
And then
All right.
just slide it over.
Here, I'll show you here. Just a second. Okay, you're going to take, you got your head, slide your head. Okay, everybody watching, set your head right here. You're going to see where there should be a black mark on the outer edge of your head, your mat cutting head. You see the black line? Okay, line that up with your pencil mark. Okay? And kind of hold pressure on the mat board that you're cutting. Don't put it on the bar. Put it on the mat board. Okay? So your fingertips are going to be right here holding your mat board, if your fingers can fit under there. Sometimes they're a little bit thin. Okay, so you're going to sink it with your thumb. Sink it. Sink it and push until you line the black line up with your pencil mark. Like that.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Your turn.
Oh.
Kind of hold it with your fingers. Yeah, the mat board. Okay. Push at this from this side. Go like that. You sink it all the way till it doesn't go down anymore. Yeah. All right, let's see if it went through. It did? Yay. Look at that. As soon as you have your mat openings, we'll go ahead and do the mounting of your work on paper. All right. Okay, let's move on to the hinging. I think everybody's got their mat openings. And then I have what I repeated, what I was telling you about the fresh slip sheet, fresh blades. I've already got that up here. And a trick on how to, if your inner mat opening, it doesn't fall out, you can take another clean blade, lay it on the bevel, and you can make that complete cut in the corners, because sometimes it kind of hinges in there. It doesn't go all the way through. Yeah, just slide your blade along your bevel and kind of nudge your way to the corner and it'll fall out. All right, you've got your window opening mat and you've got your artwork. Go ahead and line those up along with your your backing, either your mat board backing or your foam core. You want to center it. Just center it so you have the artwork placed where it needs to be. Okay. Now usually when I get to this point, I have either a weight or I find something soft that's not going to damage the artwork. I put a piece of mat board or paper on the artwork and I put a weight on there so it's not going to move on me once I get it centered on my backing. Okay, you've got yours centered. Now you decide, okay, do I want to use the photo corners? You've also got the mounting strips that you could use. And you've also got the linen hinging tape. A lot of people, the real basic mounting is the linen hinging tape. You make a T-hinge. So what you do is you cut tabs of your tape. And if you want to use your tape, or if you want to use corners, it's just a matter of preference. If anybody wants to use tape, I've got scissors. If you would rather use the photo corners, which are nice and easy, or you can cut your mounting strips into smaller pieces and use the mounting strips. It's all a matter of preference. Now you're not going to do this on artwork that, say, is fragile or is irreplaceable or old. You're going to make that's where the choices come in. If you have something that's old and you don't want to stick anything on it, make sure and use the mounting strips or the photo corners. If you have, if you have a poster or, something that maybe they just want postcards framed up, or if you're in a hurry or you run out of the other supplies, use the T-hinge. It's pretty simple. It's real basic. It's like the very first mounting technique that I was taught. But as I expanded my knowledge in framing, I knew that I didn't want anything to stick on my artwork.
Yeah, so
So-
these aren't removable particularly.
You can remove them, it's just difficult and it leaves a residue.
Okay.
So it does leave a residue.
That's why I wouldn't use this on original artwork.
Are you supposed to use it on the mat?
No,
Oh, it goes like that?
it goes on the backing. It goes on your substrate.
So you couldn't attach that to the mat?
No, because if you attach it to your mat board, there's a chance that it could get stuck. Like if you were to take that apart and you take your mat board out, it could possibly tear if you're removing it, or it's better just to keep it on here because it's stable. Say if you wanted to change your mat color, you want to put a different mat on there, or a thicker mat, or you want to raise it, it's better to
So then
have
you
it
could
on your substrate.
Even if you don't keep your artwork framed all the time, you can just leave it on the backing.
For storage, if you want to leave it stored like that. So I recommend, I always use the mounting corners or the mounting strips. Mounting strips I like because they're wide and I can cut them as small as I need or as short as I need to. Okay, so these just come apart and you can cut them. You don't have to use the full corner because it gets kind of expensive. I would probably cut this into about three or four and mount these. So you want to mount here, 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 here. And slide it up next to the artwork.
Like this.
Right. Oops. Okay. So that little lip is what's holding your paper.
And then
See? All right. Are we ready to hinge your mat? A lot of people like to hinge their mats to their backing board. It keeps it in place. It doesn't slide around. There's no chance of it damaging your artwork if it's adhered to your substrate, to your backing. So what I do is when I have a foam core backing for my mat board, I lay them alongside each other. Open my mat. Okay, so I want it, depending on where you want it hinged, either on the side like this or on the top like this. You're going to lay it. Say we'll do this one on the top. And you'll take something, since this is mat board, I'm just going to lay it right alongside. Oh, get this paper out of the way. And then I'm going to put a strip of the tape on both of those. And then you have it, your hinged mat opening to your backing. Right next to each other.
And this is hinging tape?
Yep. It should have a paper that you peel off.
Does that come in like rolls?
Yeah, I have the supplies up here that you can look at. The trick is to get the paper off the tape. I know, right? Got to have at least one little nail to do this. There we go. There we are. And you're just going to lay it on both your backing and your mat board. So once you have it on there, you can close it. It's not going to go anywhere. And there's different types of glazing. You can use, where's my mat glass? Oh, yeah. I like museum glass just because it's clear, but it also has reflection control. It lets you see the artwork, especially if you have fine line artwork. And this just goes over the mounting techniques again. The T-hinge. The mounting corners. The S-hinge. If you have a piece that you want floated on a mat board, you want to see the deckled edging, you want to see the whole piece, but you want to put it in a frame, then I would recommend doing the S-hinge. So what you do is you measure your artwork, you come in about a half to a quarter inch on the top, and then you're going to cut these slits. You're going to make slits, and you're going to put your linen hinging tape or rice paper tape through the S-hinge in the back. The front is going to be hanging down with the sticky up. The back is going to be adhered to the back of the mat board. And if you look at this piece here, you'll see where I had one on there. You'll put your tape through the back. All right, so the back side is like this. You're going to stick it through the opening. So it'll be stuck to the back like this with the sticky side up here. And then you'll put your artwork, whatever it is that you want to float, is going to be going right up here at the top. You want to use the least amount of tape on the front as possible, but enough to hold it. So if I had a piece like a watercolor this wide, I would probably do about 5 S-hinges along the top, just for extra support. And I prefer the rice paper tape. It might seem really thin and flimsy and tear easily. It'll tear easy this way, but it won't tear easy this way. You can't, it's really hard to pull rice paper tape apart like this. You have to tear it. But it does tear pretty easy going this way, but not down. So it'll hold it. It'll support a watercolor, the heaviest weight watercolor paper there is. That's why I prefer rice paper. But these are good for like light pieces, documents, posters. These will work fine. All right. Putting it into the frame, usually if you buy the pre-made frames, they come with the instructions on how to assemble it. I like these sectionals. I'm going to pass these around. Sectional frames, they're cheap. You can get them at Hobby Lobby, you can get them at Michael's, and you can create whatever custom frame size you need, but it has to be to the inch. And you can make about anything fit in these sectional frames. They range from 4 inches on up to 40 inches. So anything within that range, that inch increments, you can frame and put into a metal frame and give it a nice look, keep it clean, ready for display. You can hang it very easily. It comes with the hangers. All you need is the hook in the wall or a nail in the wall, whatever you're gonna hang it on. So that is a nice cheap way to give a nice look. And they come in silver, gold, and black. Most people prefer the black. I know our museum curator, she prefers black frames on everything. Kind of boring, but coming from the custom framing profession, where our ideal of custom framing is, matting, build up, frame. They don't want that. In the art world, especially the contemporary art world, they want as little as possible to impact their artwork. And these sectionals are the way to go on that. Other than that, any other questions? And I enclosed some gloves, because when you are working on these, you want to use some good gloves. I like these because they are flocked inside. You can wear them for a long time. You don't get sweaty. But I like them a little bit tighter. All we had was the large. Usually I wear them pretty tight fitting. And I always have one hand that I keep free because I need my fingers to feel this is for, like, if I'm touching the artwork, I'll touch it on the edges with my gloved hand, and this I use for the dexterity because I need to feel, and I feel even I got to the point where I could tell flaws in the frames, I could tell flaws in the matting and flaws in paper just by touching it. I could find where it's nicked or where there's bumps in the watercolor paper that shouldn't be there, or there's dents. Okay, well, I think that's it. Everything is on the PowerPoint, like I said. It just shows a little bit more clearly how I did the S hinges. And then if you wanted to raise a mat board, just to give it a little bit of depth, you cut your foam core into strips and use double stick tape, and you can build up. You can build your matting up to raise it up above your artwork and give it kind of a little bit classier look, so it's not so flat. Give it a little dimension. And it's not hard to do. Just save all your foam core scraps and use that for spacers to lift it up. Real simple to do. And that's it. If you have any questions, please just email me. I'm in the program book there, and I think it has my email address in there. And then I've got some cards too if you want a card. But please practice. Practice when you get home. Anybody have any other questions?
That's just a standard 8x8.